Hello my friends, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge, where you get to hear revenges and have a few laughs along the way. Guys, in this episode, there's going to be 3 stories. The first story is how OP deals with a detergent thief. The second story is a longer story, and it's how OP deals with some pranksters who try to pay in pennies. And we'll finish up with a little bit of sibling rivalry, because those are fun. I hope you guys stay for the stories today, I hope you have a few laughs, and please hit that subscribe button for future videos. This first story is titled, "You like the laundry soap I buy? How about some fun soap, just for you?" So this happened a while ago, but I just found this sub, so here goes. I used to live on the 3rd floor of an apartment that had its laundry in the basement. This means 4 flights of stairs for me, no elevator, and I have a newborn, so I'm washing quite a bit. So we have these cubbies in the laundry room for our soap and stuff. I've lived here for a year and never had an issue leaving my soap down there. Apparently, some new people moved in that were using my soap. When I realized it, I left a note asking that they stop. Nothing. They kept using. Okay, so now I'm pissed. I got 2 bottles of soap, a blue colored one and a clear colored one. I marked the bottles clearly that they belong to me and that nobody else should use it. I made it very clear. I filled the blue soap with blue dye and I filled the clear soap with unscented bleach and waited. It didn't take long. The next morning, I hear screaming coming from the laundry room. 4 floors up, and I heard it. I waited a while and ventured downstairs. In the laundry room, I found a bunch of wet clothes in the garbage that were bleach stained. 4 days later, I saw a young man get into a car with a blue stained t-shirt. Don't touch my stuff. I'd say OP was pretty evil for doing that, but hey, if you see a sticky note on something that clearly says to not use it, and you end up using it, that's definitely at your own risk. This next story is titled, "I absolutely love people who pay with pennies." Seriously, 4 years ago, I'm cashiering at a Wacky Mart on a register that holds all the smokes and alcohol. It's 10 p.m. and these 2 young men, who are in their early 20s, come up to the counter. They have 3 random novelty items. I don't remember what they were, but it was strange and unusual to get odd items this late at night. Maybe it was for some weird frat party, I don't know. It's a college town, so I get a lot of weird stuff from frats a lot. I scan the items and tell them their total is $22 and X amount of cents. Grinning at each other, they reach into their jackets and slam down 2-gallon Ziploc bags full of only pennies. I stare at them in the eye, but they didn't even look back at me. Everyone else in line groaned and went to other registers. These 2 kids knew what they were doing, but they didn't know what they were in for because I was prepared for this. I knew this was going to happen one of these days. I grinned with them because I was going to get paid during this, and these pranksters are here for recreation. This conversation occurs between me and the ringleader. The other guy was silent and awkward, and a friendly coworker of mine. I asked, "Is this $22 and X amount of cents?" The ringleader was quiet, and I asked, "Did you count it?" He replies with a, "Nope." "Well, are you going to?" And he replies again, "Nope." "Is it at least $22 and X amount of cents?" "I don't know. That's your job to find out." At this point, my coworker chimes in and says, "Hey, you guys can use the self-checkout. It can take all of your coins at once." But the ringleader was adamant, and he replied, "Nope, don't trust them." His partner laughs and says, "Doesn't count all your change right." Me, realizing they want me to count all the change to inconvenience my night, I said to my coworker, "I got this." I unpacked the Ziplocs and threw all the pennies on the counter. It was beautiful, a massive mess of copper, and I digged into it. I was Frank in a dumpster in It's Always Sunny. The 2, still averting my gaze, start to chuckle as if they were taking away my dignity. They whisper to each other, "Dude, oh my god, dude, I can't believe it. Oh my god, dude, this is hilarious." I counted each penny, one by one. My coworker comes up to me and says, "I guess I'll help you count this." I said, "Don't worry about it." She looks at me confused. Then she puts on her get down to busy look. We worked up a system where we counted 10, put them in a pile, and then with 10 stacks of 10 pennies, we separated them, making $1 piles. We made progress slowly but surely. Some customers came to the line, but we advised them to get into another line, and some of them looked at us confused, but when they saw the counter full of pennies, they understood. Some decided to wait, but when they realized it wasn't going to take just a few minutes, they took their leave as well. Another register in the liquor department opened up, so it wasn't too bad for the other customers. We get to about $12, which is about 10 minutes in, until I, quote-unquote, knocked over the piles. I said, "Whoops, I'm sorry." Coworker looks at my grin. I give her a wink and tilt my head, motioning her to leave. And she says, "You know what? I think it's better I let you do this. I'm just getting in your way." The coworker leaves, and I look at the two guys. They are absolutely stunned at the fallen piles of pennies. I said to the ringleader, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to count all of this again." And the ringleader responds, okay, his smile slowly fading. I started from 0. I count slower than ever, and then I made my way back up. The duo is entirely silent. I get to about $7 when suddenly I say, "Oh my god." "Oh my god, what?" "I lost count. I'd better start all over again." The ringleader was shocked and said, "Really?" "Oh yeah, man, I'm terribly sorry, but I could be in trouble if my registers don't have the right amount of cash, and I also don't want to rip you off, just in case you have over $30 in pennies here. It's best for the both of us if I just start over." The ringleader was silent. It's about an hour later. My manager walks past, looks at me, and I smile at him, and he looks at the counter and walks away without a word. I eventually count all the change, and surprisingly, they only had $18. I said to them, I think that this is $18. The duo has been dead silent. They look about done for the night, and I said, "I'll recount it. I might have counted wrong." And I recounted it and said, "I think this is actually $19 and X amount of cents." Without a word, the ringleader whips out a $5 bill. I said to him, "Seriously? You had cash?" He told me he needed to get rid of his change, and I said, "No problem, I'll just recount this again. I want to make perfectly sure that this is $19, since I counted $18 the first time." He looks at me and says, "Are you kidding me?" I shake my head no, I'm completely serious. He takes out a $20 bill straight out of his pocket and throws it at me. Internally, I die as well because they were smart enough to have a backup plan, and the fact that he was touching his cash in the pocket the entire time kinda messed with me. I take the cash, do the transaction, give him his change, thanked him, and wished him a good night. The two start to put their pennies back in the Ziploc bags, and I didn't help them at all. I watched them, just as how they watched me. Lots of pennies dropped to the floor, but they didn't care to pick them up. It looked like their souls were sucked out of them. It was past midnight, and I clocked out way past when I was supposed to. A lot of my coworkers gave me thumbs up or told me good night. Even my manager told me good job. I went to bed at the dorms after such a great petty penny night and crashed. Strange to say, but I'd love to count pennies again. Seriously, this is one of the best petty revenge stories I've heard and had the honor of reading in a long time. I absolutely loved how the kids came in so smug, and it totally backfired on them. OP needs to be my friend, right now. This last story is titled, "Sister Always Steals My Food, so I Make a Fool of Myself on Her Graduation to Stop Her." I come from a family of 6. My parents, my older sister, my older brother, my little brother, and me. Often, in order to bribe us into good behavior, our parents would buy us our favorite candy to munch on in the car. Now, I've never exactly been a giving person. I'm not huge on sharing, just for the sake of sharing. My parents, however, were trying to raise respectful and generous kids, and often forced me to share things, even when I didn't want to. That's all fine and good, except that my sister abused this system. See, she would say she didn't want a bag of candy. Then once we were on the road, she'd start taking candy from all three of the brothers, and that really pissed me off. I didn't get candy often, as my mom didn't like feeding us crazy sugary food. So when I got my own bag of Sour Patch watermelon candies, I wanted to eat every last one by myself. Besides, my parents would always offer to buy her a bag of candy for herself, and she would just refuse because she knew she could leech off the rest of us. So after a point, I started refusing her requests for candy. But that didn't fly with my mom, because that was being selfish, so she would force me to hand over the candy. One time, I even said when I purchased my bag at CVS, "Sister, I'm not gonna give you any of my candy. If you want Sour Patch, buy your own, right now." "I'm fine," she responded. "I don't want a whole bag of candy." Fast forward 20 minutes into the car ride, my father was requesting us to give candy to my sister, as I sat fuming. And this went on for years. My whole life, really, and I hated it. I would hide my candy when I got it. I would try to keep it out of her reach, but a parent would always intervene. Fast forward to my sister's college graduation. She's now 22. I'm a senior in high school at this point, and we're at her school at a fancy-ass restaurant celebrating after she graduated that morning. In attendance are all immediate and some extended family, some close friends of my sister, and her long-term boyfriend who I was meeting for the first time, so enough people for the following to be embarrassed to my family. Our meal ends, and my mother offers to buy a nice dessert for anyone who wants it. I ordered a vanilla bean cheesecake with a burnt sugar bird's nest on top. My mother repeatedly offers to buy my sister anything she wants, but my sister says she couldn't possibly eat a full dessert right now, and turns it down every time. The food arrives, and everyone's staring at mine. I'm sitting right at the head of the table, in full view of everyone, so it's hard not to look. And aside from the cake slice being large and delicious looking, the burnt sugar bird's nest is huge, hollow on the inside like an old-timey brass globe or something, and honestly, it was pretty impressive. And right as the food gets placed in front of us, my sister says, "I'll just have a bite of everyone's." At this point, I'm seeing red, having flashbacks to all the time my food has been stolen. Logically, the right thing to do would have just been to hand over one bite. I mean, it was her graduation, it was a huge cake, and it would have been no loss, but it had become a matter of principle. So the moment she says this, in one fell swoop, in full view of everyone at the table, I sweep up my slice of cheesecake, stuff the entire thing into my mouth at once, shattering the sugar nest, crumbs falling everywhere, in front of my whole family and some college students close to my sister, who again have never met me in my life. My sister stares, appalled, and says, "Did you just do that so I wouldn't get any?" And I look at her, cheeks ballooning out like a chipmunk, face covered in cheesecake and graham, dead in the eyes, and nod. There was a fair bit of shocked silence at that moment in the very tense car ride home, but to this day, she never asks for anything from me anymore. I was in OP's shoes when I was a kid, except there was a bully at my school who basically wanted my snacks every day during recess. And for the longest time, whenever I opened a pack of Gushers, or gummy worms or whatever, I'd immediately toss them all into my mouth, suck on them for a good 10 seconds, and then spit them back into the bag. And he'll never know that he always took disgusting, slobbery snacks from me. And that wraps up this episode of r/PettyRevenge. Guys, be sure to leave a vote on which story you thought was most petty. If you enjoyed the stories, please leave a thumbs up, and please hit that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. See you guys in the next one.